crazy times. Too much information's coming in. We're going to have to hit a few of them today. Texas files a lawsuit to the Supreme Court. They accept it. Troop movements are everywhere. We're going to show you all of those. And China continues to emerge in the news with all kinds of stuff that they are doing to our country for so many years. Get your shields ready to repel the evil. Speaking of shield, I do whatever I can to make sure my information stays private online. That means always using a VPN. I trust Virtual Shield. Keeping Virtual Shield on ensures I can hide my location online, prevent advertisers from building profiles on me, and it allows me to surf the web anonymously. Virtual Shields for yourself is a free for 30 days and experience true online protection. Go in that description box below. Click on virtualshield.com/and we know during this limited time holiday season, a special that lets you save 50% for life.
The next administration will be the one ultimately that implements a lot of the distribution of this vaccine and will oversee much of the future of the way Operation Warp Speed goes forward. Why not include members of the Biden transition team as part of this summit that you're hosting today?
Well, we're going to have to see who the next administration is because we won in those swing states, and there was terrible things that went on. So we're going to have to see who the next administration is. But whichever the next administration is will really benefit by what we've been able to do with this incredible science, the doctors, all of the people that came up, the lab technicians. The work that's been done is incredible. And it will be incredible for the next administration. And hopefully the next administration will be the Trump administration, because you can't steal hundreds of thousands of votes. You can't have fraud and deception and all of the things that they did and then slightly win a swing state. And you just have to look at the numbers, look at what's been on tape, look at all the corruption, and we'll see. You can't win an election like that. So hopefully the next administration will be the Trump administration, a continuation, which has led us to the highest stock markets we've ever had, the best employment numbers we've ever had, a rebuilt military. If you look at the tax reductions are the greatest in history, the regulation reductions, the greatest in history. It leads us to Space Force, which nobody thought was possible. All of the things we've done, and we were rewarded with a victory. Now let's see whether or not somebody has the courage, whether it's a legislator or legislatures, or whether it's a justice of the Supreme Court or a number of justices of the Supreme Court. Let's see if they have the courage to do what everybody in this country knows is right.
Everybody in the country knows is right, including the idiot who asked the question, and we get sick and tired of hearing them talk about how he needs to include this fake, demonic, possessed person named Joe Biden, welcome him with open arms and share everything that they're doing. And that was at a summit where it looks like he signed an executive order for vaccine for all those that believe that they actually need something like that. Anyway, I'll leave that for later. We're at Million MAGA March. They're having one huge march for Trump in Washington, D.C. this Saturday. That's right, this Saturday. Share this on all your social media pages. We need the Stop the Steal the Presidential Election. The time to take a stand is now. So hopefully most folks will be going out to that. And if you didn't see this, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's lawsuit was filed with the U.S. Supreme Court. It's the be-all, end-all case for President Donald Trump's ongoing and long-running election challenge, Trump lawyer Jordan Sekulow said Tuesday on Newsmax TV. The Supreme Court's not just considering what Texas has filed. They are now going the next step, which is to say we want a response from the states named. And what states are that? Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This is the case we've been talking about to reach the Supreme Court. This is the outcome determinative case. 62 electoral college votes, enough to change the outcome of the elections. And word on the street, as this was playing out, many states were jumping on board with this lawsuit. And Black Patriot said word on the streets that 7 states have now joined: Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi, South Carolina, and South Dakota. And just got word on that. Let's listen to this.
I want to welcome a member of President Trump's legal team and the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. Jordan, great to have you on the program. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Sure. Thank you.
So, Jordan, we've got the Pennsylvania case basically thrown out, but Texas and then just a snowballing effect of states joining Texas. That's got to hold weight with the Supreme Court, correct?
Well, I can already report now the Supreme Court has put on the docket that the parties, so there's 4 states named here, Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. When you look at the states that were named, they have to now respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. to this bill of complaint. And they have to respond to very specific items. So the Supreme Court is not just considering what Texas filed today. They are now going the next step, which is saying we want a response from the states named. We want a response from Pennsylvania, from Wisconsin, from Georgia. So again, I think it's very clear that, and this is the case we've been talking about to reach SCOTUS. This is the outcome determinative case. 62 electoral college votes at stake, enough to change the outcome of the election. If, as you pointed out, Grant, in the relief, there's kind of 2 reliefs sought. One is these legislatures, which are all controlled by Republicans, can seat new electors because the elections were violated. The electors clause is count 1, due process and equal protection in the Constitution. And because of that, they can seat new electors. If they have a problem doing that, it then goes to Congress by state delegation. And in the House, Republicans control that by 27 to 22. So it'd be Republicans choosing the next president if it had to go to the House of Representatives. This is major, though, because, Grant, the court didn't just take this and issue an order denying it or something like that, or maybe coming up with opinions later on tomorrow. They are requiring these 4 states to actively respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time to the allegations in this bill of complaint. And that's different than most court cases at the Supreme Court, because this is a case of original jurisdiction where the court has that original jurisdiction in the Constitution because it is state versus state.
State versus state. Who saw that coming? I sure didn't. Arkansas jumped in there too. Leslie Rutledge said, after reviewing the motion filed by Texas in the U.S. Supreme Court, I've determined that I will support the motion in all legally appropriate manners. The integrity of our elections is a critical part of our nation, and it must be upheld. And there's a breaking update. The Supreme Court will hear Texas's lawsuit against Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin over potential voter fraud. The case was added to the Supreme Court docket today. Woo! And here's some more from a Trump campaign senior advisor, Jason Miller.
We're seeing some courageous state attorneys general step forward. Texas filed this lawsuit, but they've been joined by Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Dakota. Is Kentucky on that list? A lot of other states are signing up. You know, initially the headlines are, oh, this crazy AG in Texas, so what? But now it's becoming more significant by the minute. Is there any chance that they could wrap the Pennsylvania case and the Texas case and all these other litigants into one big ball?
Well, keep in mind, so let's go and put them in a couple of different buckets, and I'll make it real easy to kind of break it down here as we kind of talk states, dates, and really the end game here. So the Texas case is essentially saying that the way that Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, the way that they administered their elections essentially invalidates or discounts the electoral votes in the election and the votes cast by those people in the state of Texas. It's saying that it's unfair to the people, and obviously they're now being joined by Alabama and Mississippi and a number of other states, also Louisiana, as you mentioned, South Dakota. And so this is going to be a real critical test. And this goes back to the framers and the way they set this up. Do states have the ability to go and run roughshod over other states? And this is a real issue of federalism, as we will see in front of the Supreme Court. This will be a critical test.
This will be a critical test. Outstanding. Well, Greg Kelly loves showing off what he does. Check this out. Newsmax TV scores a ratings win over Fox News for the first time ever. Yep, there's Greg Kelly. He definitely took over, and he's doing a great job, and we're loving every second of it. Esther Warrior even put out, like this vote, breaking. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to take up the lawsuit from Texas, which is now a total of 10-0. States. The updates just keep pouring in, and Dr. Russell McGregor said over the next few days, as it begins to dawn on Democrats that the Texas filing will allow the Supreme Court of the United States to enable another Trump 4-year term, you may see a ramping up of violence. Be prepared. I think maybe the commander-in-chief knows some really strange stuff's going on. I'm going to show it to you later on in this video of the seemingly strange positioning of troops, flights going all over the place, and ships being off the east and west coast. I'll show you that. But talking about the evil, an Obama judge in Michigan labels Sidney Powell's case of voting irregularities as a theories, conjecture, and speculation. And also, falling right out of Michigan, if you remember Cynthia Johnson of the Michigan House of Representatives, she sent a warning out to all of those who support Donald Trump. I questioned whether I was going to play this video or not because it is definitely demonic. I hope you're prayed up before you watch this, but I think it's important to see what enemy we're up against.
So this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. We ain't playing with you. Enough of the shenanigans. Enough is enough. And for those of you who are soldiers, you know how to do it. Do it right. Be in order. Make them pay.
Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it.
So she's calling on soldiers to make us pay, those that support Donald J. Trump. And if you couldn't tell from that, and if you didn't sense a demonic legion of demons in her, then just go to the Bible and you'll find out. So we're at 88.3 subscribers, the 88,000 subscribers. I tell you, I love it. Thank you so much for your support. You can find us at andweknow.com. That's where you can submit your email to get notifications. Also, you'll find all of our amazing merchandise there. If you go to andweknow.tv, you can subscribe for Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV, especially if this channel gets taken down. You'll still be able to find me. And it's a really good-looking channel there. Thank you for going to Facebook, Twitter. We're on Parler, we're on Rumble, and we're on BitChute. And just loving the support all the way around. We'll continue with Greg Kelly as he talks about Arizona.
Hey, what was the biggest problem? You mentioned some things in that video at the top, but the number one concern you have in Arizona, what didn't go, what wasn't kosher?
Well, there were so many things. I mean, yeah, it's basically innumerable. But for tonight, I will tell you that we were talking about the duplicated ballots. So the ballots that have some kind of damage or they can't be read by the machine for whatever reason. Those ballots are set aside, and then a human from the elections department fills them in. They create a duplicate for the voter. Now, they're supposed to create it exactly as the voter created it himself or herself. However, we found a 3% swing for President Trump whenever we just looked at 100 ballots out of nearly 2 million. There are over 1.9 million early ballots, absentee ballots. 28,000 of them were duplicated. Over 200,000 of them were digitally adjudicated. We haven't been able to look at one ballot, not one, that was digitally adjudicated. So I wonder what we would find, and I wonder why people want to stop us from looking, because we need sunlight on this process. We've got millions of people in our own state and millions, tens of millions of people, over 80 million people who are questioning the results, the validity of this election. This is an American republic. We owe it to the people out there, the voters, the citizens of the United States, to do this right, to take our time and to look at everything we have to be able to reassure them.
Way to go, Kelly Ward. Just love it when she comes on board. She is definitely full of life. And she shared something also as what Greg Kelly was talking about a little bit later, is that he served in Yuma, Arizona in the Marine Corps. And she said Iran, and mentioned that Her husband was in, I believe, for 30 years, and she loves the military. That was amazing to hear. So even Alabama, you had the Attorney General, Steve Marshall, say the state of Texas filed a motion, and he said it's my expectation that the court will act quickly in deciding whether to grant the state of Texas request. Well, that was granted. So it's just amazing, all these folks that are jumping on board to support the president. We've been looking for something like this and hoping for that. So Trump attorney Jenna Ellis said the Supreme Court only denied the emergency injunction relief. The Pennsylvania case is still pending before the Supreme Court of the United States. A lot of folks thought when Pennsylvania seemed to seemingly deny the request for the Supreme Court to look into Pennsylvania that it meant it was the end. So Texas on Tuesday filed a lawsuit with the Supreme Court. We know that. Then later, the Supreme Court denied the Pennsylvania injunction case before the court. This was the Sean Purnell and Mike Kelly case. Experts say the Supreme Court of the United States rejected the Pennsylvania case without any explanation because the same stuff is covered in the Texas case, which is bigger case that includes Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So Jenna Ellis put this out on Twitter. It's important point reporters are missing in a Pennsylvania suit. The Supreme Court only denied the emergency injunction relief. In the order, it did not deny the cert. So Mike Kelly's Pennsylvania suit is still pending before the U.S. Supreme Court. And she has a picture of that there for December 9th, 2020. And just in, Pennsylvania filed its brief requested by Alito to the Supreme Court. They basically urged the court not to open Pandora's box. So very interesting as this was all playing out. Folks were saying it's all over for Pennsylvania. Jenna Ellis said no, that was for Mike Kelly and Sean Purnell. And it was interesting because folks were putting this out there showing that the defense, or those that were fighting against our rights, and trying to say that they're, that basically the Supreme Court just needs to, do their job, but basically not pay attention to all the terrible things that are going on in our election. They had a preliminary statement. Check this out. Petitioners asked this court to undertake one of the most dramatic, disruptive invocations of judicial power in the history of the Republic. No court has ever issued an order nullifying a governor's certification of presidential election results. And for good reason. Quote, once the door is open to judicial invalidation of presidential election results, it will be awfully hard to close that door again. The loss of public trust in our constitutional order resulting from the exercise of this kind of judicial power would be incalculable. So they basically urged the court not to open Pandora's box, even if the federal laws of the United States Constitution have been violated. Oh, it just makes me sick to my stomach. Speaking of sick, collagen is an essential building block in the youthfulness and glow of your appearance. Up to 90% of your skin is made of collagen. After 20 years, this essential ingredient decreases its natural production in your body 10% every decade. That's why those who increase the collagen intake report experiencing younger looking skin and a youthful glow. It restores and strengthens their skin, hair, nails, teeth, muscles, joints, and gut health. So I took Ageless Multi-Collagen, and the results have been astounding. If you go in that description box below, click on healthwithawk.com. You'll get it while it's still 51% off. So Arizona Supreme Court agrees to hear the election challenge after the investigation proves that 3% of the ballots were stolen and given to Joe Biden. On Monday, the Arizona Supreme Court agreed to hear an election challenge after an investigation of a 100-ballot sample. This is huge. So a lot going on the election side, and we're wondering why the enemy is fighting so hard to put a stop to the what President Trump is doing with his troops on the front lines fighting against the attempt to steal this election. And it seems like what we've been finding out about China, I'm going to share with you some more, the connections continue to unfold.
From a military force standpoint, the People's Republic of China has a military of 2 million. They want them to be the largest, and they also want them to be the strongest, which is why they're engaged in gene editing, literally trying to alter the DNA, experimenting on DNA to make soldiers, sailors, and airmen stronger and more powerful.
You served for the United States of America What goes through your mind when you hear that?
Yeah, there's nothing at which China will stop to try to gain military dominance over the United States and ultimately replace us as the world's leading superpower so they can have their way and call the shots in the world, whether that's building islands out of the sea in the South China Sea to extend the range of their missiles and bombers, or experimenting with their own people. Some of those experiments are probably conducted in slave labor camps in Xinjiang province. There's nothing that China won't do to try to gain dominance over the United States.
Scary situation. Senator, thank you very much. Good to have you here tonight, Senator Tom Cotton.
Yep, so China keeps flying through all over the social media with information like this from Lynn Wood. I believe Americans need to understand and accept that Communist China, CCP, is not our friend. Chinese Communist Party is evil and ruthless. CCP wants our land to grow food. Explains massive land purchases in Africa in recent years, but America is the breadbasket. CCP has publicly stated goal of taking over the United States first by year 2049. In 1996, target moved to 2030. Because Hillary lost and real Donald Trump won, the target date may now be 2020. George Soros stated at Davos 2020 there would be one world government by 2021. Problem is Trump. Events of 2020 only make sense if viewed as steps leading to color revolution. Critical in coming weeks to embrace that we are one country with one primary goal, freedom. We need to trust President Trump. Even if you believe Biden won, Trump is our president until January 20th, 2021. Unify. Continuing further, Dan Scavino put this out. Swalwell, he was talking about what Kevin McCarthy put out, which was Representative Swalwell has long been disqualified from serving on the Intel Committee. For years, he peddled Russian disinformation for political gain. Now we find out he was involved in an effort by a reported spy to gather info for China. Swalwell is a national security liability. So Dan Scavino says Swalwell, who sits on the House Intel Committee and is privy to America's most closely held secrets, is 100% compromised. He did everything in his power to destroy the lives of anyone who worked for President Trump over the past 4 years with lies, 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 as China owns his blank. So, Swalwell, remember him? There he is, up there in the top right. And who's he next to? Well, it's interesting because a Chinese spy raised money for Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell, planted the intern in his congressional office. Question is, which one of our government officials not compromised by the CCP? Good question. That's from Gateway Pundit. A Chinese spy raised money for Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell and planted an intern. That's right, a Chinese national named Fang Feng, a.k.a. Christine Fang, targeted politicians in California between 2011 and 2015 at the direction of China's internal spy agency, and even had intimate relationships with two Midwestern mayors, according to Axios. According to Fang's friend, she was in her late 20s or early 30s when she enrolled at a Bay Area university and began to target politicians and gather intelligence at the direction of China's Ministry of State Security. For Fang, targeting Swalwell made sense. His 2012 campaign, which was something of a long-shot bid, pitting a young and relatively inexperienced city official against longtime incumbent from the same party, relied heavily on Asian American support, said a former congressional staffer from the East Bay. So President Trump's rapid response director blasted Swalwell. So after a Chinese intelligence operative developed a relationship with Eric Swalwell, helped raise money for his campaign, and planted an intern in his office, Swalwell spread the Russia collusion hoax, which greatly benefited China. That's from Matt Woking, December 8th, 2020. So here we are with Donald Trump Jr. saying flashback in July 2020, Swalwell complains that the Trump administration is warning Americans of Chinese interference threat. It's all starting to make sense.
I'm very concerned, though, that today the president's administration put out a statement that you have China and Russia and Iran, and they're all interfering, and gave this false equivalence to them. And Nicole, this would be like if a meteorologist saw that there was going to be snowflakes in the Rockies, a lightning storm in the Midwest, and a Category 5 hurricane to hit the East Coast, and just put out an alert that there's going to be a weather event this weekend. That is the equivalent of what they have done, I think, to politically protect the president.
Yep, and so he's definitely spreading his lies. We caught him now, and he was even on Fox News recently talked about this. He wasn't on there, I'm sorry. And they asked him to talk, I guess, Gateway Pundit, and they said no comment, it's classified. So they called Swalwell about the relationship, and his office said, nah, no comment, it's classified. Boy, all this information coming out is just making more and more sense. Just things that we had no idea. The public had no idea what was going on. We weren't really paying attention to all this, were we? We were going to the movie theaters, living our lives, having a blast, not getting involved in local elections or involved in the government stuff that goes on, and just, having our own life. And then all of a sudden everything comes crashing down, and we start realizing maybe we need to start getting more involved in what's going on around us in our cities, our counties, our states, right? That's what seems to be happening anyway. And so the Trump campaign lawsuit in Georgia is now available online. It consists of 1,585 pages outlining significant evidence of fraud. That's right. And guess who's defending in the state of Georgia against all of this these lawsuits? Well, you got old. Let's see if I can zoom in on this so I can show you. Perkins Coie. Yep. They're down there at the very bottom. That's right. So here's some key points. 2,560 felons voted. 66,247 underage voters. 2,423 votes from people not registered. 1,000 individuals registered at P.O. boxes. 30 to 40,000 absentee ballots lacking proper signature matching and verification. So Perkins Coie has historically represented the Democrat National Committee, many Dem Congress members, Hillary, and Obama. Big firm based in Seattle, I think, and that's from Lisa Roach. Good catch there. Well, Sidney Powell says even a bigger problem, and she's talking about Michelle Beagle, who said a special session should be your top priority and not bullying state senators to back down in order for Georgians to feel secure about their vote. For Kelly Loeffler, Purdue, we need to see Brian Kemp, Duncan, Georgia Secretary of State fighting for the president, right? And so Sidney Powell said bigger problem. Highly doubt that Loeffler even won over Collins for Georgia. And the Purdue Senate probably won outright. It's all rigged, election fraud. Georgia needs to demand a new down-ballot election. Wow, it's a huge accusation there, so she must have all the goods on that one. Randy Quaid, pretty funny. He said the chance of Biden winning all the swing states is 1, looks like quadrillion to the 4th power, maybe. And so that was after they investigated to find out more and more that Trump definitely won. These chances of Biden even having a victory are nil based on all the research that was done even prior to the election. Well, then in July 12th, 2019, this was put out by Code Monkey, the Georgia Governor Kemp met the Houston Consul General Li Qingming at rumored Chinese spy hub consulate in Houston. On July 29th, 2019, this is about 17 days later, Georgia signs a contract for Dominion voting machines statewide. Is that a coincidence? Very interesting, right? Well, I'm going to show you this next slide. I'm going to bring in this video that definitely has some interesting things in it. Here we go.
China is a top source for imports and our 3rd largest export market. We welcome thousands of Chinese visitors every year to the Peach State, and we are constantly helping to develop new opportunities for Chinese companies.
Georgia exports more items to China than almost any other destination, so the growing trade war has big implications here. Some Georgia businesses are making adjustments since President Trump asked companies to find alternatives to dealing with China. That impacts billions of dollars of business in Georgia. China is Georgia's #3 export destination. $3 billion worth of products went from Georgia businesses to China last year alone. Georgia imported nearly $24 billion in goods from China.
The Georgia Port Authority has been spending a lot of money in infrastructure.
Our capital investment program over the last decade has been in excess of $1 billion, but we've got a over $2 billion capital expenditure program planned for the next decade. Savannah is the load center port, if you will, for the Southeast. And a great deal of that is Asian trade. We're fortunate that we've had quite a long-standing relationship in terms of trade with Asia. Trade with Asia, like I said, is by far our largest trading partner, and China is the single largest country in Asia as far as trading partners for Georgia's ports. We don't see that changing. In Georgia alone, there's $106 billion in sales associated with port activities and $44 billion in state GDP. So that there's a profound financial impact throughout the state from port operations.
Yep. So thank you, Nicholas Clomergan, for putting out that video. Wake Up Georgia is what he says. Wow. Had no idea that was going into my home state that I grew up in. I'm sure that's very interesting for many to find out. So Sidney Powell even talked about this enemy and many others that could be enemies of a global elite power.
I would imagine our three-letter agencies have a role in it. We're essentially fighting the entire globalist elite power structure that wants to control the world for their own financial benefit. And frankly, that includes a lot of American corporations that have international interests and want to do business with China, have made back deals with the Chinese, and untold numbers of politicians who have done the same thing.
You know, 2 years ago, I would have said that sounds crazy. But after all that's happened, I think you're absolutely right. I think this is the way the world works.
So, interesting there, right? What's going on? As she even points out, the globalist elite power structure, something seems to be going on. And this was out there. I put in the description box below to read the entire thing, but definitely U.S. positioning naval vessels off the east and west coast, massive troop movements in the continental United States. I'm going to show you some pictures of those in a second. Over the past 4 days, there have been massive movements of troops and equipment and supplies within the continental United States. Today, the United States Navy is positioning aircraft carriers and their strike groups off both the United States east and west coasts. It appears we are preparing to defend ourselves from an invasion. And then this article, they have in their opinion, is China with a question mark. Late Saturday, no fewer than 25 C-17 aircraft were in the skies over the United States, carrying troops and equipment from around the nation, all going to Nellis Air Force Base. Wow. That's in Nevada. So also, late Saturday, no fewer than 12 C-130 aircraft were also on the move, also all heading into Ellis. So on Sunday, the locals on and around Nellis reported the base was swarming with soldiers and Marines. They also reported seeing a vast array of land fighting vehicles coming out of cargo aircraft. Very interesting. So I was trying to look to see if they have some type of exercise going on. Doing my research, it seems they have an exercise every year around this time, but it's normally earlier or later, not around this time. So it's very strange because I couldn't find any articles on the military side claiming there was an exercise. Well, then naval deployments. This morning, according to the U.S. Naval Institute, the Navy has deployed 3 aircraft carriers plus a landing helicopter dock, LHD, off the U.S. West Coast, and 2 aircraft carriers and their strike groups, plus another LHD off the U.S. East Coast. Off the West Coast is the USS Carl Vinson in the Pacific, not at port, along the Oregon-Washington border. Then you have the USS Essex on the right, off the east coast of San Francisco. Let's go through these. The USS Theodore Roosevelt and its strike group off the coast of Los Angeles. Off the east coast are the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower off the coast of Connecticut. Let's go a step further. The USS Gerald R. Ford off the coast of New Jersey. The USS Iwo Jima off the coast of South Carolina. And so here's a map showing the positioning of the ships around the world. Just a screenshot there from USNI News. You can see the America LHA-6 is in Sasebo, Japan. Ronald Reagan's in Yokosuka. And you've got the Makin Island, Oregon, Nimitz CSG out there. And so given these new naval developments and the very large sudden movement of troops into Nellis Air Force Base, one gets the impression that the United States is preparing to defend its homeland from actual invasion. And they say, hint, that might actually be the case. Word in intelligence circles says that if the Supreme Court voids any or all of November 3rd election due to the massive fraud and violations of the U.S. Constitution with changes to election laws, the lawless extension of voting for weeks in violation of 3 U.S.C. 1 and 2, the Democrats are planning on asking the United Nations to, and I'm just going to say what they're saying, invade and depose President Trump as a dictator. There's also word within intelligence circles that the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, plus New York, might actually try to secede from the Union if Trump gets 4 more years and may need to be forcefully brought back under U.S. control, the same way renegade southern states were handled back in the 1860s Civil War. Interesting perspective on all of that. Update from 12:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, 9 December. Attorney Lynn Wood, who is known to be working closely with President Trump concerning the theft of the November 3rd election by crooked Democrats, posted this interesting item on Twitter. Here's Lynn Wood. So there's a guy named Tang Hang Sen. Lynn Wood is responding to him. Pay special attention to the CCP's nuclear submarine. The CCP's nuclear submarine formation will sneak out of the submarine fortresses beneath the man-made islands and reefs of the South China Sea, creep into the mainland America's reach, threatening our national security. Linwood says good advice to keep a very close eye on everything Communist China does over the next several days and weeks. And also very interesting, shared all over the place and trying to confirm if this is true, went to the Facebook site and on Twitter and found people were posting this. 1st Brigade Combat Team 82nd Airborne Division had a post-final preparations today for Devil Storm. And then 82nd Airborne Division had a storm is coming. And then Monkey Works has been really busy on YouTube and Twitter. And he said another 6 ship heading northeast out over Texas coming out of Nellis, and that's 6 planes in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He posted the other day that there were actually, I believe, 12 in a row heading into Nellis, and it was just freaking him out. And it was really cool because I highlighted him the other day, just talking about him, Monkey Works US on YouTube. I think he had like 48,000 subscribers at the time, less than a week ago. And man, he climbed up to 100,000 subscribers, and his videos are going crazy. He's doing a great job keeping us updated. I tell you what, I hinge on every word and click and everything that he brings up with that 30 years of experience knowing those aircraft. So also 33 years of experience. General Flynn's out there doing a great job for all of us. Love his interviews. I would love to talk to him myself. You know what? He says to President Trump, you and your family and our entire nation have suffered greatly, and it has to stop. The American people deserve far greater respect from the institutions of our own government and the media. Thank you, and God bless America. And he's thanking him because congratulations to General Flynn. He and his incredible family have suffered greatly. General Flynn was finally released from that crooked judge. It's just terrible what General Flynn has gone through. So to end the video with this, on a positive note, with all that other stuff that we see going on across the world, across our nation, we have to ponder and realize that we need much prayer. This is bigger than we probably even expected. And I'm sure the President of the United States doing all he can with the power that he has as Commander-in-Chief to defend our country and make sure that we are safe. So we definitely need to just continue to realize that this is a spiritual battle, even more so than a physical battle, and we have to fight hard for all that we are going through. I know it must be very difficult. So here's a great word from Jenna Ellis at the end of this interview with Stevie Payne.
Pretty tough. I'm curious how you're holding up, how you maintain this level of optimism.
I appreciate that, Charles. And, my life is in service and honor to the Lord Jesus Christ. And so whatever anybody else says really doesn't bother me. I hope that I can be a light and inspiration to everyone else, that no matter what anyone says about you, it's all about just who you are as a person made in the image of God and in Christ. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, as long as I know that I'm pursuing truth and I'm doing the right thing for God and my country, that's all that matters. So that's what gives me my optimism and my hope. I appreciate you asking that.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we come to you now knowing more and more each day just how blessed we are to have our president to block this enemy who's filled with desperation to keep from being caught. We know, Lord, that you have our best interest in heart, that we continue to just come before you in your throne, and we boldly ask that you would just bring down these angels throughout the entire earth and surround us and open our eyes even for a moment to see what you have set up, so that we can just rejoice in knowing that you are an amazing God. We are looking for a biblical sight to see. We ask that the destruction of this enemy who's clouding our eyes with this virus stuff, we ask that it would be dispelled in a moment and gone. We ask that you would continue to protect our president, his family, those that are on the front lines fighting for truth. Thank you for what Texas has done and all the other states jumping in. We thank you for the protection of our military. We ask that you keep them safe and their families safe as they await word on what's going on with them. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you like this video, please hit the like button and share. Sharing gets around all the algorithms set up to destroy this channel. We thank you for the great comments below. We are so grateful for all of the support. You guys are so amazing, and we just love you so much. Thank you for going to our store and buying the merchandise there. It's so amazing to see, and also the PayPal donations. Thank you so much. For now, this is LT with And We Know. Signing out.